Hollies Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero in the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie Hotspurs Live, and tonight we have got a 5-0 thrashing against Saints to dissect, which I'm very pleased about because, as you may all know, it is the Hollie Derby. So I'm very pleased to sit here tonight to delve to dissect it with two fabulous guests. First of all, I'm joined by Mitch. Mitch, it's great to have you on. How are you, my friend?
I am very, very well, Hollie. I think we all needed that yesterday, didn't we? I think we had to sit and wait. The Rangers game on Thursday wasn't spectacular, so we had to sort of sit and wait, and we had to wait all the way until Sunday evening to watch Spurs play. And then if it had gone wrong on Sunday as well, that it just would have been even worse. So to put on the performance that we did, and for the boys to just sort of put our nerves at ease so early on as well, more importantly in the game, was you can't really ask for more than that at the moment, especially when we're going through a bit of a topsy-turvy time. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it as well tonight, and great to be back on, so thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Like I said, it's good to get on for a win as well, because the last couple of weeks have been awful to try and dissect it. But we're also joined by Formz once again. He's back again. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm buzzing. I am buzzing. I mean, that first goal went in and I went, we're losing this 9-1, but I'm glad we didn't. So much to talk about. Let's get it.
Let's do it. But yeah, welcome to everybody that's tuning in as well. That's obviously going to rewatch this too. Hope you're all well. Hope you're still buzzing from yesterday as well. Like I always say, this show is sponsored by the Tabletop. Their link in the description is below. Perfect for Christmas to get your board games. And if you're a bit like me, a Pokemon nerd at the moment, even better to go get some Pokemon cards. But let's dive into that spectacular game, because we've kind of started off, Mitch. And I know Formz has alluded to it, because I was feeling a bit of Dr. Tottenham before the game kind of kicked off. But they did settle our nerves. What did you make of the game?
I think it was pretty much as it looked. Really, really dominant in the first half. Obviously, when you score 5 goals, I don't think you can really ask for much better than that. First time Tottenham have done that in Premier League history. So, that sort of speaks for itself. And then second half was all about management, all about managing the legs, giving a couple of the young boys on the bench a run out towards the end of the game. So for me, it was like the perfect evening, really. I think when sometimes when you watch a game, and obviously both of you will know as well, particularly when you watch Spurs, when we go 1-0 up inside the first minute, we're probably all sat there thinking, I'm not sure about this still, actually. I'm thinking we might have scored a little bit too early here because of how unpredictable we are. But, then you score your second in the 12th minute and okay, brilliant, even better. And then when the third goal goes in, 14 minutes in, then I was sat there sort of thinking, okay, now I can relax a little bit. I wasn't fully relaxed because we've all been there. But at that point, I was really relaxed. And we were just playing with so much confidence and, we looked so relaxed on the ball, and we were tearing through Southampton anytime we wanted to. We had total control of that game in the first half. And, it again was another example of how we can play under Ange Postecoglou. And, all we talk about at the moment is consistency and how inconsistent Tottenham are. And those are the performances that we want to see on a regular basis. And we want to see that again on Thursday. So let's hope that we can enjoy Thursday's game as much as we did yesterday's game as well.
No, definitely, in a nutshell as well. And I think that's the thing, because this whole talk about consistency Formz, obviously people were saying, it's only Southampton, but I'm thinking those games before, we'd kind of rock up, we'd maybe score, maybe we wouldn't score, but we absolutely blew them off the park, didn't we?
I mean, it's only Palace, it's only Bournemouth, it's only Fulham. I don't care who the opponent is. You're in a Premier League game. Go and win it. It was. I mean, you say the third one went in, and then you were like, okay, cool. Like the fifth one went in, and that's when I went, all right, we've got this. Whether it was Southampton or whether it was Liverpool, I don't care. I want to see us going and playing the football that we play. And it was nice because I think it's the first time under Ange I've seen us dominate and go up by quite a few goals and then manage the game. I would have thought in any other world we'd be 5-0 up, we'd come out in the second half and we'd still go for it, even though we've got tired legs, even though we've got fresher legs on the bench, even though we've got a big game coming on Thursday. I genuinely thought when we came out in the second half, we were just going to go ham again. And I'm actually really glad that we didn't, because it showed me that Ange can make decisions that are going to be good for us in the long run. And he can change it slightly, but he will only do that once his system is worked to a T. And before then, it's not changing. He's not changing. But I'm fine with how it went. I'm very happy with how it went. And
go on.
Jed Spence is free. He's a free man.
That is very true. And I think that kind of alludes, but we'll get back to Spence because I want to spend a lot of time on Spence. But I want to go back to obviously that kind of thing you said on game management, because Mitch, there's been a few times and a few substitutions, and I've thought to myself, I wouldn't have played that, Ange. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the manager. But in this game, when Sonny came up at half time, I'm thinking, yes, Ange, this is what I've been waiting for. We've had that amazing run. We scored 4 goals. Right. We don't need to do anything else. And I think for me, that was a real turning point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's getting to the point now with Ange where he is coming under a little bit more pressure. He is having to do these things and he's sort of having to open up his ideas a little bit more, and he's maybe having to take a slight step back and go, okay, maybe I do need to manage this a little bit better. Maybe I do need to, say to the lads at halftime, this game's pretty much won, boys. Don't step off when it comes to the levels, but you know what you've got to do out there now, which, as you mentioned, it was refreshing to see. Although I still saw a lot of people on social media getting annoyed about that second half. I'm like, come on, have you watched a game of football before? That's how it works. But it was good, and it was almost like an echo chamber on Twitter or X or whatever it was. I was looking through my timeline and people were like, let's get Dorrington on now, let's get him some minutes, and then he comes on for those last few. To an extent, obviously, Ange has his hands tied behind his back with the players that he can play. So I think that's why he was so happy in his post-match press conference. He really, really praised the players after the game because he knows they are the only players he has at the moment. So the fact that they are performing for him, they are stepping up and they are putting in such a dominant performance and getting over the line with a very, very nice win. For me, it shows that one, Ange is adapting, and two, those players do still believe in Ange and have his back, particularly over some of the stuff I've been reading and seeing online over the last week or so.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing. I think, again, like you alluded to, the fact that Dorrington Formz got to come on and kind of have his first debut, again, in a position that at times we nearly need someone in there, like we've seen with Romero getting injured, Mickey van der Ven getting injured, and seeing a young player come in, because we could talk about Saints and Dibbling, but we've got the likes of Dorrington, we've got the likes of Bergvall as well, that they can do that as well.
Yeah, they can. I was really happy when I saw him on the sidelines, Dorrington, and I was like, yes, go on, just smash it. Put in a big tackle early on, assert your dominance, and then he did the complete opposite, and he gave the ball away, and they scored an offside goal. And I was heartbroken for him because when they replayed it in slow motion, as they scored, he put his hands behind his head and he was gutted, and I was gutted for him. And then as soon as it was offside, I was like, okay, bro, you've got it out the way. Breathe, just manage the next 10 minutes. Please don't make a mistake. And he didn't. And I think after that moment, he was relatively composed. Next to Dragusin, who I think is kind of slowly stepping into the role of, okay, I am the most senior centre-back here. And I've got to take on this role of coaching Archie Gray through it, who that's not his position. And I've got to take on this role of coaching an academy player who's never played Premier League minutes before. And he's doing well. And I think when it comes to Lucas Bergvall, I think he did okay. I don't know, actually, I think he did really well considering he's played in like the Swedish league before and there's zero physicality and you can do a couple step overs and you're a wonder kid. I take that back. I think he did really well considering. And we didn't have a proper six playing, so there was a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. I knew he was going to get booked. Always put him getting yellow card in my bets. But yeah, no, I think playing the teenagers we play, even Archie Gray, I think he had a very good game. He's so good. We spent 40 million on him, and when he plays in the midfield, because I watched a couple games for Leeds. When he plays in the midfield, he bosses it. That's why we spent 40 million on him. He's been forced to play in roles that he's just not like traditionally used to. And he's going, yeah, cool, I'll do it. I want to play that bad. I'm going to give my all. And if I make a mistake, cool, I make a mistake. But the goal goes in, whatever, we go again. And that mentality, I think, give it 2 more years, give it 1 or 2 more years. And that mentality with Ange's philosophy, as long as Ange's still at the club, and he's a future captain. I think it's really nice to see. I want the trophies now, but it's nice to see that the future's kind of handled as long as we manage those players in the right way.
Definitely, and again, when you go and smash teams off the park 5-0, you have the freedom to do that. And talking about
the clean sheet was so important, so important for their confidence. Anyway, go on.
And I think as well confidence, because I want to talk about Spence and the fact that in this game, Mitch, he was kind of brought on his first kind of Premier League start, and within 35 seconds, he's turned a player, gone on a run and set up Maddison to score a first goal. I mean, what a way to make an entrance, to be like, I am here, mate, and I want to play.
Do you know what? I have so much praise that I want to give to Jed Spence, because he's been so patient since Ange has come in. The fact that yesterday was his first Premier League start, when I read that, I thought, like, geez, that is absolutely ridiculous. So obviously he's been at the club long enough now, obviously loan spells and everything in between, but he's been incredibly patient. It's weird because I don't think it will follow the same path as Lo Celso, but it's almost been like a little bit of the same path for him. He's gone away. I think he did well on his loans out there. He's come back in, never really got into the team, but he's been sort of working quietly and building up. I think, I don't know if you saw the clip of him back in Ange when the fans were going at him at the end of the Bournemouth game. He had his arm around him, stuff like that. He was fully supportive, and he hasn't let his head drop this season. And considering when we first signed him, there was all that talk about his attitude and whether he is the right fit for the club and stuff like that. So far, from what I've seen, on and off the pitch from him, he's been excellent, and he is needed this season. I don't want to criticize Pedro Porro too much, but I think even when he came on against Southampton yesterday, he wasn't great. Spence had to be shoved out to left back when Udogie came off, and he still did really well. I think obviously second half it was a lot more difficult for everyone because we were more content to let Southampton have the ball. But that first goal was sort of a summary of what Jed Spence could do. He wants the ball in tight areas, which is where he got it. He's waiting for the player to come and press him. And then something we don't necessarily see Pedro Porro do too often, he turns him. He turns him and goes past him. He's got a lot of strength. He's got a nice, tall, strong build about him, so he can hold off defenders and whoever's trying to tackle him then. And then the outside of the ball through to Maddison is weighted perfectly and is just so precise. And for a fullback, you cannot ask for much more. And, Maddison obviously still has to finish it, and he does really well there. But that was everything that Spence can do and more. And if that's not an indication to Ange that he should be getting more minutes and that he should be coming in to our Europa League squad when it opens back up for changes in January, if we get through, and that he can play that rotation player for Porro or Udogie, left back or right back, then I don't know what will. I'm so happy for him and impressed with him at the same time.
I think as well, it's like competition for space. Go on, Forz.
I was going to say that's the difference when you compare him and Porro. That's the difference between hunger and complacency. A hungry player that's got a point to prove will take on a man. Will want the ball in tight areas, like you said, and to prove that he can. Will find a ball that like a few people on that pitch would not have been able to find. And then you look at Porro, who, yeah, cool, will get forward and has contributed to loads of goals. But he's also a culprit of passing back and passing sideways and playing the safe option, because who's gonna replace him in the squad? No one. And on the Spence thing, like nobody. And I'm gonna say this, and it breaks my heart, but I'm gonna say this I'm gonna say it how I'm gonna say it, and however it comes across, it comes across. Nobody wanted him. We signed him when we had Conte, and Conte came out and very verbally said this is a club signing, and then Nuno didn't play him. He was out on loan. And then he came back and Ange went, he's all right, went on loan. And now he's come back and played a decent cameo against Coventry, and then we go, okay, let's give him a contract. But Ange still wasn't playing him, which goes to show he's still a club signing. And he's done so well to be patient. And Maddison, in his interview after the game, was like, he's such a chill guy. He's so relaxed that it doesn't bother him. It doesn't affect him. He'll be patient, and he knows that when he gets his chance, he'll take it. And that's exactly what he did. So fair play to him, because he could have thrown his toys out the pram. He's a professional footballer, but no, he's taking everything on the chin. He's proving himself. And now I really hope that the manager, who doesn't have that many options left to play some football, and if we got to play Jed Spencer Cam, we've got to play him a cat. I don't care. He's proven himself, and I'm very happy for him. So I had to say that part.
No, that's fine. And like you say, it's that competition for place as well. Like you said, it builds that character. And you can tell he's got that within him. Obviously, Lynch has said, like, can Spence do it against quality? And the thing is, Formz, like you alluded to, let him have a chance, because we haven't really seen what he can do against quality.
Mikey Moore against Man United. Confidence and hunger and youth. I know Jed Spence isn't a teenager, but it's almost like he is an academy player, the way that we're refusing to play him. So yes, I think even without seeing it, he can do it against quality, because he wants it that badly and he's got the ability.
And that's the thing, he applies himself. And like you said, with Pedro Porro, I think at times it is that complacency kind of creeping in. But talking about more goals, Mitch, because we've got loads to rack through, we're going to talk about Sonny's goal. Because again, Madders has claimed that he kind of crossed the ball. It was a little bit of a deflection, but Sonny was free. Again, I think it was Kyle Walker-Peters that obviously left Spurs, that kind of left him open with loads of space. It was a first time touch, boom, in the back of the goal. What did you kind of make of that second goal?
Yeah, just a sort of instinct-based finish that we've seen so many times from Sonny, just making that late run into the box. I don't actually think Madders was aiming for him. I think he was aiming for Solanke, or I think there was someone else in the box with him. I don't think it was intended for Son, but you know, the best players will always anticipate in those situations that the ball is going to fall to them, and that's exactly what happened. And he still did well to finish it. It was not an easy finish, even though he makes it look so easy. And we've just talked about it with Jed Spence there, but I think the game yesterday was equally important for Sonny, because he has also been getting a lot of slack in recent weeks, as has Maddison, who I'm sure we'll talk about as well. And, you know, for him to get on the score sheet, to provide an assist as well, is only going to do wonders for his confidence. And as you said earlier, the fact that we had the luxury of being able to take him off at half time and rest him, hopefully puts him in a really good position to be right up for it on Thursday night, because you need your captain in those sorts of games. You need your captain in every game, of course, but he did what we've seen so often in the Southampton game. He was ruthless, he was clinical. And the thing with Sonny for me, and we haven't seen it enough this season, I've said it previously on podcasts, is we haven't seen him confident enough to take on his man or just wrap a shot from a ridiculous angle or distance. And we've seen him go in so many times. So we were all sat here sort of questioning, like, why is he not doing that as much this season? And that sort of leads on to conversations about his legs having gone and he's past it and all of that rubbish. So, yeah, it was just as important for him to get onto the score sheet. Maddison obviously orchestrating everything in that first half as he did. And I was listening to the commentary actually on the game, and they were talking about I think it was for the fifth goal. It's about the chemistry that Maddison and Son seem to be sort of forming, whether it be Maddison making those deep runs in behind, or whether it be Sonny and one of them finding the other. And I know it's never going to hit the levels that Kane and Son had and that partnership, but if they can continue working down that left-hand flank together in the way that they did against Southampton, there are a lot more goals to come from the pair of them this season. Obviously, the difficulty with that is, one, we've got to keep them both fit, and two, we have got to find some consistency, which we haven't been able to do all season. But, you know, we'll see.
No, definitely. And I think the thing as well, because obviously I know Formz, we've spoken before in terms of Maddison and being up for these games. Now, being a bit cynical here, you think this is a game he wouldn't necessarily be up for, because obviously we see him up against the big guns, but not necessarily the teams like Southampton. What do you think's changed in that kind of respect? Do you think it was just the way the nature that the game was going, the fact that the last couple of weeks we haven't really performed to our best? What do you think maybe clicked within Maddison this game?
Again, I think it comes down to hunger. I think when you look at when you look at the starting 11 that plays week in, week out, for some reason, Madders has been the most droppable one. He goes for Kulusevski over Madders in the 10, which granted Kulusevski's unplayable at the moment. And I just think it's a case of like, bro, you made me vice captain of this team. I'm coming off the bench most games in recent games. Like I need to show you why you can't be doing that to me. And I think that he's not the most consistent player, but when Madders ticks, Tottenham tick. And I think he probably went into this game thinking if there's an opponent to do that and show myself against, it's going to be this game, and he did it right. And I don't think you can drop Madders now until he has a stinker. But I don't know. I just put it down to hunger, because granted, you can say what you want about the board, you can say what you want about Ange's in-game management. At the end of the day, there's 11 men on that pitch that are making the ball move and are scoring the goals. And if they're not doing what they need to be doing, then there's a problem. And a lot of the players need to also be held accountable for some of the performances they've put in over the past couple of months. And Madders is definitely a name that when it doesn't work, he really does go missing. And he's meant to be one of the leaders. So when you go missing, you're a lot more responsible for when things go wrong. And that's why I think that game was definitely a game where a lot of players looked at it, including Son, who scores 1 million goals against Southampton, and went, okay, this is our chance to kind of show everyone that we're still here, we're still kicking about, and hopefully that gives us momentum going into Thursday and Sunday. Jesus, we got such a hard run of games.
Merry Christmas. But no, I think you're right, Formz, and I think, again, talking about how amazing Madders is, it was just the last goal in the first half, the last goal of the game, the way that he managed to shimmy off a player, Mitch, and then the angle that he scores from as well, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he shouldn't be allowed to do that.
No.
It's utterly, yeah, as you say, it's ridiculous. Do you know, it's really quite sad what I'm about to say, but I don't sort of like, I'm not very emotive with celebrating Tottenham goals at the moment for various different reasons, just because I'm never sure we're going to win, or I'm not sure if they're going to get ruled out by VAR. But that fifth goal, I let out a like, oh my God, like out loud while I was watching it, because everything about it was just so perfect. The ball from Sonny weighted so nice. The outside of the boot. I love watching those types of passes. I think they're brilliant. And I watched Madders making that run, and my instinct was, okay, he's going to knock this off a defender and get a corner right at the end of the half here. The fact that he did what he did just shows the level that he can be at, and the sort of creative mind that he has when he's on form. The fact that he was able to stop the ball dead right on the byline, he sends a defender flying past him, and then you probably have half a second at most to look up and see what's available for you. And I don't even think he did look. I think it was pure instinct. He was like, do you know what? Why not? And he had to hit it perfectly into the place that he hit it, top corner of the side netting, because of the angle. And, Alex McCarthy's a big goalkeeper as well. So the fact that he was then able to do that was just pure brilliance from him. And I said it when Maddison joined Spurs, that it was the most excited I've been for a sign-in in a long while, because before he joined Tottenham, he's one of my favourite players, because I love that creative mould of midfield. Always loved Eriksen when he was in his prime at Tottenham as well, and I just love that mould of player. And it makes me really sad when he doesn't perform, because I know how good he can be. And when I see performances like that against Southampton, I'm sitting there thinking, please bottle that and do it in the next game as well, because when Maddison's at his best is when Tottenham are at their best. That is the conclusion I came to from yesterday's game. Kulusevski, as Formz said, is sort of like untouchable right now. Everything's going through him. He'll drag us through the dirt. But when Tottenham are at their absolute top level, I don't think they can be there without Maddison pulling the strings and being that top level that he can be.
And I think that's a combination, because obviously there's been lots of different ways we've played this midfield, Formz. But I think we're still starting to learn that, yes, Decky is amazing through the middle, but when we've got that fluidity that they can both kind of occupy the space, but at times Decky knows that he needs to go out wide to give Madders that freedom in the middle, it just works perfectly.
I mean, he's got that footballing IQ. He knows where to be. He knows what to do. And he knows, I just wish he used his right foot more, because I know he's got a banging right foot. he just knows where to be. There's nothing else to say on that. I think when you've got Maddison who is playing confidently and can create, it allows Kulusevski to get into the right positions and finish off chances that Madders does create. It means he doesn't have to drop necessarily any deeper than he should. It means he can push out onto the wing. Although he doesn't have the pace, he can still put a ball in. It's really nice to see when our best players are playing at their best, because then they influence the other good players to be like, oh yeah, no, I can do that. All right, yeah, cool, I'll do that. And then it just the whole team starts to tick.
I think as well, obviously, I know Lynch has put here Pablo Sol was fire, and he was, because he's that engine in that midfield, which kind of allows both Decky and Maddison to just go off and do their thing, doesn't it, Mitch?
Yes, Pap's such a talent. He's such a talent, and I think with the type of player he is, and perhaps the age he is, it's not quite consistent enough yet, which is maybe why he doesn't necessarily get a prolonged run in the team and why we rotate so often. I mean, obviously you've got Bassoum and Bentancur fighting for positions there as well, and everyone else in between that can play that central midfield role. But do you know what? He's one of those players that does the dirty work and does the work off the ball that you don't really pick up as much. The running for me is major. It's mega. I sometimes I just sit back and we've got the ball or they've got the ball or whatever, and I just look at Pape Sarr and look at the energy that he has all the way through the game. He's just, you have those people in the world that just have those natural engines. He's one of those, and the best bit about it is he has brilliant technical quality as well, and we saw that with his goal.
Who knew he had feet like that?
Literally, like dancing into the box and dancing through like 3 Southampton players close goals, taking that ball on the run, by the way, which I don't even think was intended for him. I think it was meant for Kulusevski on the right-hand side. But he takes that ball in his stride, and within a second, the ball's in the back of the net. He dances through. He doesn't even look up at the goal. He knows where it is. On his left foot, just puts it into that top corner. It's just, again, like we could talk about every single player in the team in that first half yesterday. They're all brilliant. But Pape Sarr, for me, he's developing into such an important player for Tottenham. And I can't wait to see the sort of path he has at the club and what he can produce for us as well.
Mm. And I think that's the thing, it puts us into good stead, obviously, for the games coming up as well, the way that everybody was kind of clicking in this game. And I'm getting over this notion of it was only Southampton, but I think it is true that the fact there's been recent games where we've completely capitulated when we've been in the driving seat. So it's nice to be in the driving seat, continue to be in the driving seat, and then take our foot kind of off the gas. But there was also something I wanted to talk about, because Formz, as much as it was lovely to see everybody kind of getting amongst the goals, I do feel a little bit bad Solanke, because again, he's your number one striker. We know that he does a lot of work off the ball. Don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to find a little bit of negative in there to show some sort of balance. But for Solanke, do you think that would have phased him? The fact that he's obviously the striker hasn't got on the score sheet for this 5-0 battering against Saints?
I don't think it bothers him at all. I think he is playing for the manager exactly how the manager wants him to play. Sometimes he is that decoy that allows the wingers to then go and do their thing and arrive in the right positions and receive the ball from either the 10 or the other wingers and to score goals. And he draws attention away from those players who, when you've got Son on the pitch and Brennan Johnson on the pitch, who have got that pace to run into areas when players aren't there, and they're getting, it works perfectly. But then again, when he is in front of goal and he has got the ball, there's no reason why he shouldn't be going and scoring. And I think maybe he should be getting more delivery or taking more chances than he has been. But I'm really not worried, and I really don't think it phases him either, because he still scores goals. And yeah, that comment was right. Like, Solanke did his job, everyone around him scored. You look at the way Ange played when he managed Celtic, the striker did exactly that. And the wingers scored more goals than the striker did. And it's like, yeah, cool, the striker will score goals because he's a natural born goal scorer, but you're working for the team here. So on paper, when you look at it and you go, it's the number 9, he should be the top goal scorer, and he's not, you think, what's going wrong? But then as Tottenham fans, we watch every game, we see the shift Solanke puts in, and we go, okay, no, that makes sense.
And I think the thing is as well, Mitch made me laugh, he was still going after the ball, kind of in that second. He's probably the only one that was still pressing.
He's ridiculous, isn't he? He is. I 100% agree with what Formz said about Solanke, because he will get a decent haul of goals this season. And I think the issue is with Tottenham, he's always going to get put under the microscope and under unnecessary pressure because we've been so used for so long of watching Harry Kane and seeing him put away 99% of the chances he gets in front of goal. Like, there are only a handful of strikers on the planet that can do that. I'd love Solanke to be able to do that, but realistically, is he going to put away every chance he gets? No. The good thing is Tottenham are still the second top scorers in the league. Third best goal difference in the league as well. So that's why I agree with what Form said about him not being worried about it. I think his goals will come. You know, he was unlucky. I think on another day he scores our third goal that Kulusevski ends up tapping in. I think it was just a good block by the defender on the day. So he's proven to me already that he can score goals, obviously, because he has done. But the main thing is, as Forms has mentioned already, everyone else around him is getting goals. I think the concern would come if we had players in that squad that weren't scoring goals at such a good rate. The fact that it's so spread around is not a bad thing. It just shows that there's quality in each of the players that are starting and coming off the bench to be able to score. So until that stops happening, I don't really see it as an issue.
We're comparing it to Kane, but also we're comparing it to the fact that he scored 20 Premier League goals for Bournemouth last season. But the difference is Bournemouth needed that target man, and everything went to Solanke and through Solanke. So that's why he was in those positions, because that's how they played. That's how they needed it. We just don't need that because we play a completely different system. So I'm happy.
No, definitely. I just thought I'd chuck it out there because obviously, as you see on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, there's always that kind of notion of rival fans saying, "Oh, what does Solanke do?" But I just wanted to put out there that Solanke does do stuff. He just doesn't necessarily have to score all the time. I want to talk a little bit, obviously, what went off on the pitch as well, because obviously I know Forms last week we were talking about kind of Ange and everything else that's kind of happening behind the scenes. And it kind of took me, not that I was surprised, but it was quite nice in a way to hear the fans obviously singing about Kulusevski and then saying that they only care about Kulusevski. And to me, I think that's kind of like a real turning point, that it's getting to a point now where I think a lot of us are kind of having enough, if that makes sense. But it's still under a game where we still won. But it's nice to know that that's still something that's in the background, if that makes sense.
I think it comes from a place of when you lose and you're booing and you're like having a go at the manager. I don't necessarily think it was a direct attack on the manager. I just think that he was the vessel for us to take our frustrations out on the club. So then when we're winning and we're not happy still, we can't not be happy with the manager for winning us a game 5-0. We can't not be happy with the players for winning us a game 5-0. So if you're not happy, you're not happy with the board. And so singing, I don't care about Levy, he don't care about me, all I care about is Kulusevski, is showing that, because all the fans were singing about Ange as well and singing praises for Ange the whole game. It was literally those two songs. It was Ange Postecoglou and we don't care about Levy. Like that was all I heard on the TV. And if that doesn't show you that we're not mad at the manager, we're not mad at the players, we just need someone to take our anger out on, and Levy goes missing and he doesn't show his face a lot. So it's like, okay, we're gonna try and do it through the manager and the players. But that was a really nice, powerful thing, the fact that we're 5-0 up and we're still singing songs about the board and how we're not happy. And and Levy was there. He would have heard that the whole game. And I think it just made a really nice statement. Obviously, it's a compliment to Kulusevski because he's the unplayable player and it just rhymes. But we could be putting any player's name at the end of that song in that game because every player played the way that they needed to. I don't really know the point I'm trying to make, but you get what I mean. It's like we win. I don't think we're going to stop now until the board make changes or they sell the club. Like it's now that yesterday showed me that the fans are now in full force and more importantly in unison. Because if it was a select few, fine, but you're hearing it at home games, you're hearing it at away games, you're hearing it online, and it's just this process now that I think will, in time, make a really big difference.
I think the thing is as well, the fact that Danny Levy was there, and I think they went to his face on the TV and you could tell he couldn't stomach it. And I think Mitch, as much as obviously I don't want to turn this into a debate of whether they stay or they don't stay, I think the fact that I'm kind of in agreement that I want Ange to stay, that it's always time and time again, it's those above us. And I think that was a true statement for not just obviously the fact that we were winning and we were singing that is kind of how I was kind of taking that on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, look, Levy has to hear it. He has to hear it. And the main reason he has to hear it is because he's oblivious. And that is one of the big issues that a lot of us have, is he's so disconnected with the fan base. Like, there's no level of relationship between chairman and fan base, which, you know, I think there should be, because ultimately the football club exists for the fans, or should exist for the fans. I'm not necessarily saying that's the case anymore, but should exist for the fans. And without the fans, the football club is nothing. So, you know, we've gone through periods over the last maybe 5 or 6 years where these Levy out chants and people trying to organise protests have come, but then they've also gone when we've gone through a good period. And I think the telling thing will be whether they do continue all the way through until something does happen this time. I hope it does. And I'm, you know, you see his face, and it's really, really great for me that the media, the mainstream media, are starting to pick up on it. You know, they had the big debate on Sky Sports. I saw, you know, I've seen TikToks and videos from other news outlets posting the chant from last night as well. So the attention is there, and you know that makes a big difference, because I'm sure you've seen videos inside the training ground and all the stuff they post on their socials and stuff, but they have Sky Sports News on in the training ground on all the TVs and stuff like that. So if it's big enough to get conversations on a show like that, you know, in the middle of the day, during the week, or whatever it is, and the players are all there and all the staff are there and the hierarchy are there, they will be aware. And at the moment, perhaps there is that little bit of sort of stubbornness up there to try and not listen to it and think, well, we think we're doing a good job, so who cares what anybody else thinks. But I think the most important thing is what Formz said, is the fact that we won 5-0, we played really well, and those chants were still there. That I think it's so weird, because I actually think it's easy. Well, it's not weird when you think about it a bit deeper, but it's a lot easier to hear that sort of stuff and gauge the mood of the sort of hardcore fan base in the away games, because at the home games, it's like it's been a lot less when it comes to the chanting, when it comes to the protests, the demonstrations, whether that be to, you know, whoever it may be in the ground who have got tickets, or whether it's just the fact that the atmosphere inside Tottenham Stadium isn't what it used to be at White Hart Lane. But yeah, Thursday will be very, very interesting to see if it carries over into that, especially if we put in another good performance and win the game. You know, if you're getting into a cup semi-final and it's still going on there, that is your clear indication that people aren't happy, in my opinion.
And I think that was the biggest thing for me. The fact, obviously, go back to the Saints game, we were winning, we were still singing it. Like you say, if we go into the game on Thursday, will it be as vocal? I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, it's amazing that we've won. I just wanted to allude to the fact that obviously that did kind of happen, because to me I was quite taken back to hear it on the telly, and I was like, actually, we are kind of in unison at the moment. But obviously then we have to turn our heads to Thursday Forms, because obviously it's United in the cup on Thursday, and then I believe it's Liverpool on Sunday as well. So it's a double whammy, really. So how are you kind of feeling in terms of obviously the switcheroo and is probably going to have to do? How are you kind of feeling for those two games going forward?
Throw everything on Thursday. I don't care if we've got to play babies on Sunday and lose 8-0. I don't care. I won't be mad. I genuinely won't be mad. If he plays the strongest possible 11 on Thursday, which he's got no excuse not to, if he plays the strongest possible 11 on Thursday and we go and get a result, and then we get absolutely walloped with tired legs on Sunday, but like the players still kind of show that they're trying, that couldn't be a more the perfect week is 2 wins. But if we do lose on Sunday and we win on Thursday, as long as the players show that they're trying and the system's kind of doing its thing, and we're not playing boring football, and we're not like, oh, what do we do? And the players look confused, that would be ideal. Because look, realistically, I mean, top 4's gone. It's not even a conversation. So whether you play in Europa League or Conference League next season, it's much of a muchness. Whether you play out of Europe next season and we have time to focus fully domestically, amazing. I really don't care whether we finish 9th, 7th or 5th. Like I really don't care, as long as we've given everything in the cups. If we don't end up winning and we fall short, but we gave everything, that for me is worth not fighting for a specific place in the league, because we're not in a position to fight for top 4. We've just got to hope that we give everything to these one-off games and it pays off. And yeah, I honestly can't predict what's going to happen this week. I'm just very ready to see a manager who is so vocal about changing the way this club is actually put his money where his mouth is and go, this is the strongest squad I can play with the players I've got available. We're going to do our absolute everything. We beat them 3-0 at their own ground. Yes, they've got a new manager, but psychology plays a part when it comes to the players. It's kind of, other than the fact we don't have a fully fit squad, like it's all there for us to go and take. And I think the beauty of keeping a clean sheet and having Dragerson step up and Gray being fearless playing in those positions and having an extra fullback option in Spence to play on the left or the right if a doggy isn't fully fit or if Porro's legs get tired. And then we've got a midfield who, I mean, no Bentancur, but Bissouma will be rested. And we've got Madders who is bringing momentum. And like we've been saying a million times, Kulusevski's unplayable. Solanke's doing his bit for the team and Son's got a bit of confidence in him now. It looks like we should be okay. We are Tottenham Hotspur though, so I don't know.
No, it's very true. And I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I want to give everything on Thursday. Mitch, how are you kind of feeling towards these next 2 games?
Nervous, Hollie, nervous. I agree with Formz 100%. Before Thursday, you're 2 games away from Wembley and a cup final. You know, win tonight and you're in the semi-final of a cup. At that point, cup semi-final, anyone can win it. Whoever's left in the final 4, anyone can win it at that point. So, you know, the motivation has to be there. There are absolutely no excuses. The players know, the manager knows, the hierarchy knows, the chairman knows, everybody knows that this is what we want. At this point, you know, yes, okay, getting European football's brilliant. I'd love to be in Europe again next season and win the Europa League or get into the Champions League or whatever it may be. But if I'm being totally honest, I'd trade it all in a heartbeat if we won the bloody Carabao Cup this season. Like, just would. You know, I think most people are the same. So it's, yeah, I'd take getting, I obviously don't want us to get trounced on Sunday, but I would take getting trounced on Sunday if it means we get through on Thursday, even if it's by the finest of margins. I think it's going to be a very, very close game on Thursday. It's going to be so unpredictable. I have no idea what to expect from United, to be honest. You know, they weren't great against City, but they won, and that's a huge momentum booster for them, winning away at your biggest rivals. So there's that. And then Sunday, Liverpool are a little bit wounded. So, I mean, it's always tough against Liverpool, home or away, isn't it? I've seen far too many games against Liverpool that I'd like to forget. So, yeah, I'm optimistic, but I'm nervous. But I'm also excited. I'm excited for Thursday. Bring it on.
Let's have it. But no, it should be a good one. Like I say, it's going to be a stressful week, as per it is always with being a Spurs fan. But it's nice we've got that momentum with that game, with that thrashing against Southampton, and then obviously going into the next 2 fixtures and just that big one on Thursday in the Cup. But guys, it's been amazing tonight to dissect that game. We'll go around the table, say our goodbyes. So Mitch, thanks again for joining tonight. Where can everybody find you?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been great to be back on. I know it's been a little while, but yeah, it's been great chatting to both of you. Yeah, just find me on the usual stuff, Twitter, X, YouTube, TikTok, all under the same name. So any support on any of those channels would be great. And yeah, let's all hope we're celebrating a massive win on Thursday.
Fingers crossed. I hope so. And Formz, once again, it's amazing to have you on. Double bubble, 2 in a row this time. So where can everybody find you as well, Formz?
Nice therapy. Thank you for having me as always. Just type in Formz on any platform and you'll see my face pop up.
Lovely stuff. But like I say, we'll be back for the Hotspur Huddle on Wednesday. I couldn't do last week, but I will actually be here Wednesday. I keep fobbing off, but we will be here. And then hopefully it'll be the last one before Christmas next Monday for Hollie's Hotspurs to hopefully set a win against Liverpool, and more importantly, a win against Man United would be lovely as well. But like we always say, till next time, come on you Spurs.